Imagine trusting your life to a wooden boat barely 17 feet long, built by hand on a frozen island at the edge of the world, then pushing it into one of the most violent oceans on Earth. In 1865, three men did exactly that. Not explorers chasing fame, not soldiers following orders, but castaways who had already spent 19 months stranded on a sub-Antarctic island where ships almost never came and death was the default outcome. Their story began earlier, in December of 1863, when the schooner Grafton left Sydney Harbor bound for the Auckland Islands far south of New Zealand. The mission was simple on paper: search for tin deposits reported on those remote, wind-lashed islands. The ship was small, just over 80 tons, never designed for the savage Southern Ocean. Her captain, Thomas Musgrave, was a meticulous American sailor with over 2 decades at sea. He believed in routine, records, and discipline, habits that would later mean the difference between survival and collapse. The crew was small, 5 men: Musgrave, Francois Reynaud, a French engineer with an inventive mind, Alec McLaren, a steady Scottish mate, George Harris, a strong hunter, and Henry Forges, a quiet Norwegian who learned fast. By January 1864, they reached the Auckland Islands, deep in the furious 50s, where storms are constant and mercy is rare. As they searched for shelter, the weather turned brutal. Anchors dragged. The ship was driven onto rocks. By dawn, the Grafton was destroyed. They salvaged what they could: tools, canvas, a compass, a gun, and a small dinghy, then watched their ship break apart. Rescue was unlikely. These islands were infamous graveyards for ships. Waiting passively meant dying slowly. Musgrave made a decision that shaped everything. They would not simply wait, they would build. From the beginning, routine became law. Cleanliness, shared meals, assigned tasks, even marking Sundays. These were not comforts, they were defenses against despair. They hunted seals for food, oil, and skins. They built a solid cabin they named Ippigwait, meaning refuge. Dryness alone felt like luxury.
Then Renaud did something extraordinary. Using salvaged metal, stone, clay, and sealskin, he built a working forge. From that moment, they were no longer just surviving, they were manufacturing. They forged tools, nails, and fittings. They made lamps from seal oil, soap from ash and fat, waterproof clothing from skins, even ink so Musgrave could keep his journal. Through the endless rain and darkness, they kept their minds intact by staying useful. Months passed. No ships came. Slowly, the forbidden thought became unavoidable. If rescue would not come to them, they would go to rescue. The dinghy was far too small, but Renaud proposed rebuilding it, cutting it apart, extending it, reinforcing it into a seaworthy vessel. It was an insane idea, and the only one that offered life. For nearly 10 months they worked. Storms damaged their progress. They repaired and improved. They stretched the boat to about 17 feet, sealed the seams with improvised caulking, added a deck, mast, and sail. They named it Rescue. But the boat could not carry all 5 men. 2 would have to stay behind. The decision was brutal but practical. Musgrave would go to navigate. Renaud would go to repair what broke. Forges would go to handle sail and bale. McLaren and Harris would remain behind, keeping Ippigwait alive until help returned. On July 19, 1865, after 19 months on the island, rescue entered the gray Southern Ocean. Within days, they were battling full gales, bailing constantly, sleeping minutes at a time. One wave nearly rolled them under. The boat righted itself. Their design held. 5 days later, land appeared, Stewart Island. On July 24th, they made landfall alive. Musgrave immediately began fighting for a rescue mission. Captains refused. The islands were too dangerous.
He pushed harder. Finally, a schooner agreed. In September 1865, Musgrave guided the Flying Scud back into Carnley Harbor. As they rounded the headland, two figures ran from the trees, waving. McLaren and Harris were alive. All 5 men left the island together. The Grafton castaways did not survive by luck alone. They survived through structure, shared responsibility, and the stubborn choice to keep building when giving up would have been easier. In one of the harshest places on Earth, they proved that survival is not just endurance, it is discipline, cooperation, and refusing to let despair make decisions for you.